Hey guys, it's Clint Stoker. I write comics and make videos about comics as well, and our awesome indie industry that's going on right now in comics. This is a creator that probably everybody knows about. If you don't know about him, he's worth looking into. Richard Meyer, also known as Richard C. Meyer, also known as your boy Zach, also known as Diversity in Comics, also known as Comics Matter with your boy Zach. Same guy, okay? And he teases me for calling my channel Sweetcast. So I realized that these numbers are going to be out of date as soon as I post this video, because this is the last day of his campaign currently, and his numbers are just jumping up. So it will not surprise me at all. He's going to probably break 200,000. I did some quick math, and I added up the actual books that he sold. Currently right now it is 4,411. That's actually a lot of books. Now I want to compare that to Comicron's numbers. This is what he likes to do in his videos. He says his goal is to be in the top 5 of graphic novels. Here we have trade paperbacks. That is what it is comparable to. Right now he's in 6th place if you look at it. And he's really not far away from getting into 5th place. This is beating out DC, Marvel, Image, like every major publisher. He's beating books that have writers that have been working for years and years and years trying to build audiences and sell their stuff, and he's beating them. Now these numbers won't be recorded in Comicron, at least not right now. I hope that they are. Honestly, there's so much happening in crowdfunding, and there's so much to be proud of, that it really should be getting more attention from the industry as a whole, and it should be accepted, frankly, whether you agree or not. All right, so this quick point needs to be made because it's important, and that is, so Richard has done a few publications. I know he's written an anthology, at least one that I know of, possibly only one. He's also published Iron Sights, and he's published Jawbreakers, the Lost Souls, and so that was his first publication. And so along with that, as far as I'm aware of, he only has 3 books that have been published that he has written. Maybe he has more, that's possible. This will be the 4th one that's going to be coming out. It looks like it is almost finished, and it should be shipping out relatively soon. Beside that, he doesn't have all this small press work like a lot of other comic writers start out with. Comics are an interesting beast because you really have to learn by working with an artist and getting the story pages out there. You can start writing other things, like novels, like I've done, and I would strongly suggest it. It's really, really, really helpful to start out by writing prose fiction, because you can do everything yourself. You don't need to hire anybody or anything like that. You can work out pacing, showing, not telling, all those great things, dialogue, all this important stuff you can work out. If you're strictly doing this in comics, you can write a lot of scripts, but scripts, they're not finished unless you have the art. So generally speaking, the way that it works for writers is you have to get it out there, whether you're paying for it or something, crowdfunding it, begging, borrowing, stealing art, and making a story. If you do that, then you'll learn, but it's also public. People are seeing you kind of go through your learning process. And so there is definitely a lot of pressure. I think this is different from art, because for artists, they can actually have a somewhat finished product by themselves. They can work on it and really improve. And when they're ready, they can go out and start getting published. For writers, it is a little bit different, though I would strongly suggest finding ways to write and practice and get feedback before you're ever working with an artist. I do think that's really, really important. Okay, so Richard goes from having relatively no publications in comics to now being the potentially fifth best-selling trade paperback for his 3rd book out. And each other book did extremely well. I don't know exactly where they landed. They did very, very well. This puts him in the spotlight. It puts a lot of pressure on him, and it puts even more pressure on him because there are not just lots of people that are reading the book because they want him to succeed. There are a lot of people buying the book, reading the book because they want him to fail miserably. If you just search Richard C. Meyer to find out anything about him, let's say that you're interested in the book Jawbreakers and you just want to find a little bit about the creator behind it, Well, if you Google it, you are not going to find Jawbreakers, at least not up toward the top. You're going to find stuff about Mark Waid, lawsuits. You're going to find this Wikipedia page about Comicsgate that he will forever be tied to, whether he likes it or not. I hope he does like it. But he's going to have all of this surrounding him before you even cut through that and get to the comics. Now, I clicked on one of the articles, and right at the beginning, it talks about diversity in comics. And then you also get to the first section here, controversies. Generally speaking, most comic creators don't want that to be the first thing that is associated with their name. In his case, it is just there. He's also forever going to be tied to this lawsuit with Mark Waid. All of that. Oh, here's another one too. This picture is also coming from that Comedy Central interview, that infamous Comedy Central interview that was obviously a hit piece, like they always are, with Jim Jeffries. And so again, that's another thing that's tied to him. And unfortunately, Mark Waid, who I would bet, I would bet it's one of the people that he would rather not be tied to. But in this case, he's going to be for a very long time, because Mark Waid tried to interfere with the publication of Jawbreakers, and now they're in a lawsuit. You get the idea. All of this tarnishes his name, and it also makes it really, really difficult to have people give your book and your writing a fair shot. So why is this important? It's important because it proves a few things. One of those things is essentially what's happened is a writer that may have been sort of going into the entry-level kind of positions, so to speak, in comics, has been foisted into the spotlight. He's playing in the NBA. His book is selling better than most other books out there, most other graphic novels, beating out major publishers' books. That's fantastic. But that also comes with a really high expectation of doing really, really good work. Now, I've read Jawbreakers, the first one, and I enjoyed it. I thought the art was really good. I had a few suggestions on the writing, but it's one of those things that he's got the spotlight on him. So what I want to see between Jawbreakers and Jawbreakers God King, Jawbreakers Lost Souls, Jawbreakers God King, is I want to see a trajectory. So as I read the second one, I'm going to be comparing it with the first one, and this is really where you see where he's going to be going through his career. Because if he can show the kind of improvement that I hope he is, that I believe he's going to be showing, and now that, don't get me wrong, Jawbreakers wasn't bad at all, but it's just a benchmark. But if he can show some kind of trajectory that he's not only, he's got the system down, but he's also mastering writing, that is what is really going to solidify him as a comic book writer forever. As long as he's getting better here in a noticeable way, he's going to continue getting better. He's already figured out exactly what it is that he needs to do. If you think that this doesn't scare mainstream comics, it absolutely does, because they really spend time on not spending money for talent. If you think about this, how many comic creators really do it full time? I know so many so-called pros are writing comics, or they're doing art for comics or whatever, lettering, some point of it, and they're working for the big two, but they're not actually doing that 100% full time. They also have other jobs to support them, especially for writers, because they need to. It doesn't pay the bills. And don't get me wrong, I do not do writing comics full time currently either. And so I'm not belittling anybody in that situation, because you'll have to start from there. But he is. He's doing it, and I know that people in the comic book industry would not consider him a professional comic book writer. But the truth is, he's more professional than I think most writers that write comics. He's doing it for a living, and not only for like a year or something, but he's proven that this is sustainable and he can keep doing it. So this really is an incredibly important book for Richard. It's also really important for indie comics in general, because this is, again, showing, can you really compete with the big two? His sales are absolutely supporting that. I think he's already proved that. He's going to get more sales, but he doesn't need to as far as proving anything. What I want to see, though, is again, mastery of writing comics. I know he's really been working on it from what it sounds like. And so I'm really interested to see it. So I'd love to know your thoughts. Are you backing Jawbreakers God King? What are you looking forward to seeing in it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't checked out my book, Downcast, it is on Indiegogo right now. I'm also really excited about this. I got a bunch of new backers since the video I did a couple days ago. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Really appreciate it. We're so close. We're one backer from hitting 29,000. That's a pretty great landmark. And then the next one is 30,000. We'll definitely get there, I think. So thank you very much. Back it if you haven't yet. And I will talk to you next time.